Okay, I'm back for a few minutes. I've got my cabbage, my Napa cabbage, chopped into bite-sized pieces. I just like doing it better this way. It makes it a lot easier on me. I've got it soaking in cold water for a few minutes. It kind of takes out the remnants and little friends that are crawling around in there as well. Excuse me. And then I'm gonna strain it in here in the strainer and then rinse it off a little bit. And then I'm gonna soak it in cold water. That's going to help with the fermenting. Okay, so I'm stirring this almost till it's translucent. I've got, like I said, I've got a 1.5 cups of water in here, 1/4 cup of white rice flour, and then I just added 2 tablespoons of sugar. So I'm just, I've turned it down on low once I got the sugar in. So I'm almost making, I'm stirring it until it's translucent. And then I'm gonna turn the heat off, and I have a gas stove so it cooks pretty quickly. Okay, I've got my cabbage, Napa cabbage, marinating in salt. I just decided to leave it in the sink. It's sterilized, and I have big bowls, but just decided to make it easy on myself. And I don't think I said in the beginning, I actually bought a 6-pound Napa cabbage, and by the time I cut the core and cleaned it up a bit, it's right at about 5 pounds. So that's 5 pounds of Napa cabbage chopped up to bite-sized pieces. And now I'm working on the porridge that's going to go in it. And this is basically 1/4 cup of the rice, the white rice flour, and then 1.5 cups of water. And I'm just trying to get this almost like a pudding consistency. And then I'm going to add sugar to it. I am going to do a short video before I get started on making my kimchi. I have my fermented pot in the very back. It's got the lid on it, kind of grayish. I've got my Napa cabbage, I've got my onions, I've got my carrots, and I've got my radish. I've got my ginger that I've got frozen because I bought a bunch of it and went ahead and got it put away so it didn't go bad. I've got my salt, I've got my red pepper flakes. I've got a little jar of garlic. I bought about 5 pounds of garlic and minced it and froze it in little cubes because I use a lot of garlic and onions. I've got my little salted shrimps, sugar, fish sauce, and then white rice flour. So I am about to get started, and I'm going to attempt to join these videos together. New to all this, so it's going to be fun. But I will be back. I set my porridge in a cold bath just to kind of let it cool down quickly. I think it's pretty good now. I'm going to put it over here, and I'm going to add this. I'm going to pour this in this bowl, and I'm going to put it in here with my mixture that I had done earlier. And then I'm going to add, about 3/4 cup of red pepper flakes. I think mild is like a cup. I love kimchi, but I do not like spicy kimchi. So with that being said, I'm going to add about 3/4 cup to my porridge, and then my mixture from my blender. Okay, I've got the 2 combinations. I'm just gonna mix it together. I do have a tripod over there that I'm going to get set up for in the future for using for Christmas. I got a microphone and a tripod. I just haven't quite had time to set it up yet. Just too much going on. But I bought all this, went to the international market and bought all the ingredients to make kimchi and bean sprout soup. So I'm getting ready to head out of town. So I wanted to get this fermented before I go so it's ready when I get home. And then I'm going to add the 3/4 cup of red pepper flakes. And I just buy the huge bags at the international store. We have a really nice international store. A lot of people ask me where I get my utensils and kitchen items. Most of my kitchen things I've had well over 20 plus years. And then a lot of them have been handed down to me from my mother, family, my mother-in-law. I do buy a lot of stuff. This is actually a very old, I think it's the largest Thastable that Tupperware had. I'm not a real big Tupperware fan anymore because the quality is just not like it was when I was younger. This knife we actually picked up at TJ Maxx, I think for $9.99, and I'm really particular about my knives. Most of my knives are Zwilling, and I had a really nice block for mine and dropped it on my concrete floor. And so I had to order a new one. So I did get this from Amazon, and I felt like it was a great deal. It was $89. And as you can tell, I still have room for some new knives that, hint, might need some. And then my fermenting pot, I actually bought a really large one because I love kimchi. And then if I use it for sauerkraut, I want to say it was in the 80 range also on Amazon. And it's just the convenience for me living out in the middle of nowhere. It's the convenience of just having it delivered, not wasting my gas, my time dealing with the people around me, having it delivered. And then this board I picked up at IKEA the last time I went, or 2 times ago, back in October. And I want to say it was under $30, but it's a great board. It's really big. And I have a friend whose husband is actually getting ready to make me one to cover 6 of my burners. So I'm looking forward to that, to being able to chop on it. And then Au Claude is probably our all-time favorite cookware. And we actually picked this up at, I believe it was TJ Maxx. We prefer the stainless steel. It's just a lot easier to clean, sanitize, and once you get used to cooking on it, it cooks great, and especially on gas stoves. So back to our porridge. I'm getting this all mixed up, and I will be back, and we're gonna start adding some ingredients. And on the, before I forget to tell you, on the Napa cabbage that we're salting, you want to make sure that you turn it about every 30 minutes so that way that the salt wilts the cabbage really good. But you want to be really careful because you don't want to have the pieces broken, so you want to turn it, pretty gently, not like vigorously. Okay, here I rinsed off half a cup of the salted shrimp. I'm going to add that to the ingredients as well. I just wanted to show you a sample of how I cut these. I kind of quartered this before I chop it, and then I'm going to kind of chop it at an angle, but you can really cut them anyway. And I'm going to add now the salted shrimp to the kimchi paste. So the smell, if you like kimchi, it smells really good. It's got a little bit of that sugar in it. And then of course garlic, I love garlic. And you're just going to incorporate all that together. I don't know if you all noticed these carrots earlier. They are huge. They're actually organic carrots. They kind of reminded me of the produce that grows in Alaska because they only have so many months of sunlight. And the people that do garden there, they just have these enormous pieces of produce. So I'm cutting these up I cut them at an angle which looks circular, and I'm going to do kind of like pixie sticks. And I've already got the green onions added. You really want to make sure, I forgot to mention this, you really want to make sure with your green onions that you rinse them out really good, and you rinse in between each leaf because there are all kinds of little critters and dirt hiding in there. So I just went through and rinsed mine again. I noticed that there was a little friend in there. So 4 things of green onions, and I'm going to give these a wash before I chop them up. All right, I've got one of the last ingredients, I've got the Korean radish. I've got it kind of cut in a circular, and then I'm gonna go down a line and kind of chop it pixie again. This is a cup of this, and you can use the rest because I got a really big one. You need to make sure you peel it before, and then I gave it a quick rinse. You can add it to soup later. Okay, I have my Korean radishes pixied to the best of my ability. I've got my carrots, and I've got my green onions. So it's a cup of Korean radish pixied, and you want to make sure you give it a good wash too. I've got the 1/4 a cup of pixied carrots, and then I've got 4 stalks of the green onions. And you want to make sure if you have the ones with the bulbs that you kind of quarter them and then do them in a diagonal as well. And all this is preference, so I've kind of changed it over the years. Okay, this is about, well, it's supposed to be a 1/4 a cup of carrots, but that's okay. It's about a 1/2 a cup of carrots, so I bought way too many carrots, as I usually do, but I'll chop them up and freeze them for stews or soups or something. This is about a 1/4 a cup, and this is my version of pixie, so I'm not the greatest chopper in the world. I tend to cut my fingers constantly. So we're gonna add this into our kimchi. I am gonna rinse this 2 or 3 times just to rinse all the salt out. I'm gonna rinse it and take it out and dump it back in the sink just to give it a good wash and kind of get rid of some of the salt. And like I said, you're gonna let that, you're gonna flip it 3 times with the salt on it. And it's better if you let this go in cold water and then put it in a strainer and then soak it again, not soak it, but rinse it again and then strain it again. So I'm just kind of doing it real quick, like, just to give you an idea. Okay, I've got this all mixed together and it's a pretty thick paste, you can see. So I'm getting ready to add my cabbage, and you wanna turn it 3 times. So it's been in the sink marinating in the salt for about an hour. Okay, I have my kimchi all mixed up. It tastes absolutely delicious. I just took a bite of it. I am gonna put it into my fermentation pot, and I'm gonna let it sit for about 2 weeks while I'm out of town. And then I'm gonna come back to it and enjoy it. And so I am going to start cleaning up because my house smells like garlic and fish sauce, so, which is an okay smell. But I hope that you like this video, and I'm gonna get this all together and get this posted out for you. And if you had any questions on the ingredients, just shoot me a comment. I have the Napa cabbage. I've got it washed and rinsed several times. So I'm straining it now, and then I'm going to, as I put it into the kimchi mix paste, which as you can tell, it should be pretty thick consistency. I'm gonna squeeze it just to get some of the excess. Okay, I've started incorporating the cabbage, and I'm kind of doing it in opposite. A lot of people add the porridge mixture to the cabbage a little at a time and stir it. Well, I like to add the cabbage a little bit at a time to the porridge. Kind of like when you make Rice Krispie treats, you've got the marshmallow and the butter. Well, I use like a whole stick of butter, so I have like a lot of, and vanilla and stuff, so I have a lot, so I add a little bit of Rice Krispies at a time. But back to the kimchi. So I'm gonna just keep on adding this a little bit at a time until it's all incorporated. I left out a part. So I did add this to my ferment pot. This pot is huge. It could actually hold 10 pounds. And this is 5-pound recipe, so it would easily hold 10 pounds of kimchi or sauerkraut. Really big pot. I don't really have anything to compare it to, so you can see how large a size this is. Let's see. I have let's see. Oh, I have a little jar of jelly that I can kind of let you see and compare it to. I mean, it's huge, so, but it's perfect for what I'm wanting to use it for. And I have to say, this recipe with the little bit of sugar that you add, it gives it just enough to not make it just taste sour. And I'm just using the wooden stick that came with the fermentation kit or pot to just kind of put it down. And you're gonna start to see the juices at the top. Like if you want to add, when you eat it with rice or add it to a recipe, you'll see that after a day or two. So I've got that down pretty good. And I'm going to add, so this came with these awesome weights. And this is just to help with the fermenting. And this will also let you see how much more space is left in here. The weights help with that. So I've got those in there, and I'm going to close it up, and we are good to go.